Economy after election, the crisis or comeback. Election is over, the celebration are also fading, but for 170 million people, the real victory is not measured in force. It's measured in purchasing power, job security, and the price of a liter of oil. Inflation remains elevated, foreign reserves are stabilizing but fragile, and a global deadline is approaching fast. So the question is, are we heading towards a recovery or drifting into a structural crisis? I am Mehedi Hassan. This is Nation and Number. Today, we will shift from the narrative to numbers. Every new government inherits an economic balance sheet. Let's examine ours. Number one, the GDP paradox. A tiger losing its speed. For a decade, we are the South Asian tigers with 7% growth. But in FY 2025, that engine slowed to 3.7%. While 2026 projections suggest a slight rebound to 5%, but let's be clear. Our historical potential is above 6.5%. But we are currently operating below our capacity. Number two, the inflation reality. When the middle class feels poorer, you hear the headline number around 9.5%, but that's only half of the story. Our food inflation has become a monster. When the cost of living overtakes the average wages growth, the middle class started to shrink. This is not a statistical issue. It's a household crisis. Number three, our foreign reserves position. The question is, are we safe or just surviving? Under IMF's BBM6 calculation, our foreign reserves stand near $21 billion. That provides roughly 4 months of import coverage. 4 months signals stability but not strength. As below 3, vulnerability begins. We are above the lines, but the margin is very thin. 4, the debt illusion. Are we ignoring the real risk? Is Bangladesh falling into a debt trap? The answer isn't just in the debt itself, but in our capacity to solve it. Let's think of it like this. Your total debt might be lower compared to the value of your house, but if your monthly salary cannot cover this, you are in a trouble. With a stagnant tax to GDP ratio of under 9%, our national salary is drying up. As the grace period of all our mega project expires, our repayment obligations in terms of installments are skyrocket. We are now using one credit cards to repay the minimum balance of another credit card, actually financing our physical deficit by eating our future growth. We need to stop talking about the debt to GDP ratio and start talking about the revenue to debt ratio in order to understand the true economic reality in Bangladesh. Number 5, the cost of hesitation. Is the growth engine losing fuel? Historically, our economic heart rate in the private sector credit growth is 14 to 15%. But today, that pulse has dropped below 10%. This isn't just a historical dip, it's a systematic failure. This is not just a slowdown, it's an oxygen lost. When the investor hesitates, factories are not built, machines are not imported, jobs are not created. An economy without investment is like an engine without fuel. Number 5, the cost of hesitation. Is the growth engine losing fuel? Historically, our economic heart rate in the private sector credit growth is 14 to 15%. But today, that pulse has dropped below 10%. This isn't just a historical dip, it's a systematic failure. This is not just a slowdown, it's an oxygen lost. When the investor hesitates, Factories are not built, machines are not imported, jobs are not created. An economy without investment is like an engine without fuel. The credit crunch. Is the private sector being crowding out? Investors aren't emotional, they are mathematical. Right now, they are calculating risk premium. For years, we had the 9% lending cap. That's gone. Today, the policy rate sits at 10%, pushing our commercial loan 13% to 15%. For a small business owner, the cost of capital has nearly doubled. But here is the deeper problem: crowding out. Because the government is running a deficit, it's heavily borrowing from local banks, often paying 11% or more on treasury bill. The logic is simple. Why a bank lend to a risky startup at 14% to 15% when they can easily lend to the government at 11% with zero risk? This is why the private sector credit growth hits at 6.2%, which is the lowest in the 22 years history. If the private sector cannot breathe, the economy cannot grow. The LDC cave, what does it mean? Are we ready for a post-preference world? The comeback isn't just about recovering from the election. It's all about preparing for a world where we no longer get poor country discount. We need free trade agreements, FTAs, not just an aid. Let's mark the calendar. 24th November 2026. This is the day where Bangladesh graduates from the LDC status, least developed country status. It sounds like a celebration, but it's actually an $8 billion challenge. When we graduates, we lose the duty-free access to the major market. Suddenly, our exporter will have to face tariffs of 10 to 12%. Actually, we're moving from a world of aid and preference, from a world of competition and FTS. $33 billion. Is it lifeline or lost opportunity? In 2025, Bangladesh received a record $33 billion in remittances. Formal inflows increased as the confidence returned, and informal channels declined. This stabilized our foreign reserves during one of the toughest economic transition. But here is the critical question. Are we converting remittance strength into investment strength? If remittance only fuel consumptions and it buys groceries, not factories, then it sustains today, but not built for tomorrow. Remittance must move from survival support to capital growth, because when the economy succeeds, the nation succeeds. What are the triple reforms to fix the foundation? To turn a crisis into comeback, the government needs monetary fiscal handshake. We need three specific shifts that demand urgencies. Number one, banking sector. Our not-performing loan is 20 to 25% in 2025, but in some cases more than 50%. The new banking regulation ordinance must be enacted as a bread knife, not a bandage. We need to liquidate the Chombai banks to free up capital of healthy ones. I mean, closing down the insolvent financial institutions that are technically insolvent, bankrupt, but kept alive through government supports, bailout programs, and regulatory forbearance. Number two, the expansion of tax base or tax mate. Our tax to GDP ratio remains 8%, which is one of the lowest in the world. We cannot build first world infrastructure on the third world tax base. Number three, energy security. Currently, most of our factories running at 60 to 70% capacity due to gas shortage. Without adequate supply to the factories, credit is useless, investment is delayed, growth stalls. That's why adequate power supplies to the industries should be prioritized at the first place. The Bangladesh 2026 dashboard, is it stabilization or structural reset? Let's define the 5 measurable targets. For recovery, we must see the 5 key performance indicators. Number 1, the GDP growth is above 5.5%. The inflation is below 7%. The foreign remittances is above $35 billion. The foreign reserves is towards $28 billion under IMF's criteria. The policy rates gradually normalizing towards 8%. From realistic point of view, actually the next 12 to 18 months should be the correction phase. We should not expect a sudden boom, rather expect slow but grinding stabilization. Crisis or comeback. The numbers will decide. The election delivered the political mandate, but we need the mathematical mandate. 2026 is not just a recovery year, it's a transition year. We are moving from a protected developing economy to a competitive global one. So crisis or comeback, the answer lies in policy discipline, institutional reforms, and overall investors' confidence. Because when the economy succeeds, the nation succeeds. I'm Mehedi Hassan. This is Nation and Number. Please subscribe and join me as I decode the data shaping our futures.